Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the VR Gamescast, live every Thursday. I'm Zeena. I'm going to be your host, and with me is the rhythm dancer of UploadVR, Ian Hamilton.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to talk about Ragnarock, and I Expect You to Die too. They're both fun. Can't wait to talk about them.
Give us a little boogie. You're a rhythm dancer. Do it.
No, I can't. No. Okay. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. I like it.
And the less rhythm inclined, Jamie Feltham is also joining
rhythm. I've got a bone to pick. All right, a bone that surfaced in the 5 minutes before we started this show. So Oculus has updated, or Facebook's updated the Quest UI again, right? And you now press the Oculus button. You get the little quick menu, and there's the lovely little icons. Oh, they're so colorful. How lovely. First of all, the app icon is still gray, and you just kind of end up ignoring it. It looks terrible. But second of all, there is now no little cog that just says settings. You have to hover over the Wi-Fi, the battery, and like the time or something stupid like that. Leave it there for a second, and then it says quick settings. How hard is it for them to just get everything right once? Why does there always have to be some incredible omission? Ian, did you just test yourself?
I had to go check. Yes, I had to go see. You're right.
There is nothing that just says settings. So I came out of the app not knowing what to do, and then I figured out what to do. Please, I'm begging you, Facebook, put some sort of settings icon in there. I rest my case.
All right, well, you just got called a curmudgeon, whatever that means.
And someone else, James, is saying you're drunk, too. He thinks you're drunk.
Incorrect. I have not drunk for 3 days, and that's quite impressive for me.
So anyway, hello to everyone in chat. It's lovely to have you here, as always. Let's have a little roll call, hey? Paradise DK, Don, the Triangulator, Monkey, Felix Games, the Absolute Boy, Adam Hartzell, Torn Hawk, more people, Chris9989, the Cult of VR is here. I'm very glad that the Cult of VR is here. Our good friend Onikazi, the whole lot of you are here, and we're very, very happy. Daniel, welcome back.
Torn Hawk, is that just a typo for Tony Hawk? Is Tony Hawk in there? Or some sort of offspring?
Apparently there's a little bit of an echo.
Oh.
Everyone have headphones in? I have my headphones in.
I never have headphones in.
Well, Zeena.
There's the time. That's talking on the internet 101, Zeena. You've got to know these things.
Anyway, hopefully it's going to be fixed. I just turned lots of stuff down. But let us know if it's okay.
Do you want some headphones?
No, I'm not going to get any headphones. I don't have anything right here. We're literally live on the internet. Everyone is watching me.
I can pass them to you.
I can do like ghost drumming while you get those. Yeah, I'm Ragnarocking right now.
I'm gonna do it. Ghost drum, quick.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no.
Okay, here we go.
Oh no. This was a bad idea. This is such dead air I have to fill. Oh gosh.
my god! Come on, do the do.
Oh Oh man. We're going to talk about the metaverse, right? Oh, why do I have to talk about the metaverse?
Don't talk about the metaverse. We're not going to talk about any. Just drum. Oh. I've had headphones put on my head.
Yeah, I wonder if I do James is mentioning the Jeopardy wait song. If I actually hum the Jeopardy wait song, are we going to get like a demonetized warning on the channel?
I hope not, but also, can you still hear me?
I can.
Wonderful. How's the echo, everyone? There's still going to be a bit of a delay. Anyway, while you guys fill me in on that, we've got a couple of news stories to get through, and then we are also going to talk about the Facebook Metaverse stuff. Ian will be talking about Ragnarock and I Expect You to Die too, like he said, and Jamie will send us on home with his Winds and Leaves review and Arcsmith impression. So I know that there was a question about Arcsmith. I think people are very interested in this. Jamie, just a very, very quick question. When is it coming out?
In 55 minutes.
Really?
How about that fact?
The
Yeah,
game?
it's it's
Oh,
the
jeez, it's coming out,
Oculus.
everyone!
It's the Oculus store drop, isn't it? So it's out.
Oh,
The
yeah.
embargo lifted. Mercifully, the developers actually lifted the embargo a couple of hours before it released, but I haven't played enough of it yet to officially review it. So that's not ready yet.
All right, more on that
play some
later.
Ragnarok too, please.
It's a really good game. It's okay. I'll try. I'm playing it right now. Just look, I'm playing 90% of VR games right now.
Okay.
My hand.
All right.
Anyway, sorry.
Fake fan. All right, first up, After the Fall has been delayed yet again. The multi-platform release will now happen later this year, with the original Oculus Quest version coming next year. The reason given for this delay is very respectable and very understandable. The team just needs more time to finalize, which I think we can all agree with. That's great. But After the Fall was also delayed back in 2020, so how do you guys feel about this? And do you think this is the beginning of the end for the original Oculus Quest getting,
definitely.
big games?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I sort of joked with you guys when it was announced. I think it's kind of up in the air whether it'll actually ever release for Quest, because I feel like there's a lot of sacrifices that they're likely to have to make to get that game up and running there, when there's going to be just that they've already announced. Facebook's already said that the Quest 2 has outsold all previous headsets combined, previous 6DoF headsets combined, and that's just such a larger user base that they're going to be building into come the holiday season. That I don't know why go through the effort of getting those people into co-op. It's not going to be
Does that
many.
mean that it hasn't outsold with like the Go combined as well?
Yeah, so I think John Carmack was the one who kind of said, actually, Gear VR, I think, was the thing he was bringing up. Gear VR has actually done crazy numbers because they were given away for
of
free
course, yeah.
with phones. But obviously, none of those things remained in use. But yeah, technically speaking, Gear VR was doing very well, as I understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, to Ian's point, full disclosure, we actually have some questions with Vertigo about the delay, and hopefully we'll be able to shed a little more light on it, like either this week or maybe next. But I don't know, man. One of the questions I asked them was, what kind of assurance can you give that it's actually going to release on Quest next year? Because to Ian's point, I don't know it's worth the time and the effort. I don't really see why you would. It seems like it will be such a struggle. I mean, Arizona Sunshine, when it came to Quest, did not look nice at all, and that was a 2016 game that was far less ambitious than this, comparatively. So I don't know why you do it. And I asked them a couple of months ago. Again, we have a story where I was like, are you going to have is it going to be identical across all versions? Because they showed a trailer at like one of the Sony things or something like the Oculus Gaming Showcase, and there were like loads of enemies on the screen, and it looked really cool. But it was like, I don't understand how you can do this on Quest 1.
Was
Even
it also
Quest 2 looks like a
PlayStation VR days?
Yeah, they had the I think they had like a cinematic trailer for that or something.
Oh yeah.
So
are we gonna get blamed for it getting killed off of Quest if they decide, like, all those original Quest owners are gonna send us some really nasty emails?
I mean, they might be listening. They might be like, all right, let's cancel it here and right here.
Hold the phone, Matthew May. Hey everyone. Hey Matthew May, how are you doing? Thank you so much for your super chat there, and thank you so much for becoming a member. We are so happy to have you on board, and thank you for supporting us. We love that. Thank you.
But so that's one point of it. The second thing is the delay itself. I'm actually very, very happy about, because VR has had this weird year where the first 6 months there hasn't really been too much apart from like Hitman, and then obviously I think it's kind of kicked off now with like Sniper Elite at the start of this month, and everything's just kind of cramming together. We know that Lone Echo is coming next month. We know that Fract is coming next month. We're still expecting Song in the Smoke this summer. Winds and Leaves just came out. We're still expecting Arashi Castles of Sin this summer. And honestly, like, part of me was like, oh man, having a fit, like something like After the Fall, which is, hoping to be this big, like 10, 20, 30 hour, keep coming back to it, co-op shooter experience. The thought of trying to fit that review in with everything else was kind of a little overwhelming to me. So just personally, I'm actually kind of happy, and I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to. Thank you so much, Vertigo, and I'm looking forward to seeing it later in the year. The other thing about it is, again, going back to that Quest 1 and 2 thing, is that this is also just a new precedent, right? Like, yes, Resident Evil 4 is fully Quest 2 exclusive, but this is the first time someone said, actually, we're going to do a release on this version, and then the other one's going to come later down the line. And I wonder, I would love to know what that conversation looked like with going back and forth with Facebook, where were Facebook like, no, this has to be a simultaneous thing for the longest time, and Vertigo had to keep coming back to them to be like, this is really, really hard to do, but we really need to get this game out this year at the same time. And I think that's, I would love to be a fly on the wall on those conversations as Facebook, is continuing to decide what rollout of games on Quest looks like.
And I'm sure this has been a struggle for many other games that have come out on both, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, it's. I mean, still Quest 2 is a very underpowered device compared to even PSVR and PC, but it's still a massive step up from the original Quest. One of my favorite moments working Upload was when it was actually a year ago now, when me and Zeena got early access to the Quest 2, and we ran through all the specs on SideQuest. And Heaney, who is usually a docile guy, he's very measured in his responses, absolutely just flipped out at the fact it was an XR2. So there's a big, and that was the moment where I was like, okay, there's probably some kind of significant difference between these two things.
Oh, Heena's excited. Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're gonna start seeing this more, especially as PSVR 2 comes into play as well, and people have to keep weighing up what platforms they're aiming for and stuff like that, and stuff starts getting left by the wayside. I think 2022 we're really going to see a lot of the more ambitious Quest games coming out, either going for this kind of delayed structure and getting maybe really terrible ports to Quest 1 at some point, or just straight up Quest 2.
So James O'Loughlin made a great point. It's tough to buy a Gen 1 product. They usually get replaced quickly and die fast if successful, which I'm going to go on to the next story as well, because this all groups in very nicely together. Even Gen 2 products die out pretty quickly with VR. So next month, we're going to see the very, very last Oculus Rift exclusive Lone Echo 2, which is hopefully going to be the best game to kind of die out on. The longer-awaited Lone Echo 2 will be coming to Rift or Quest via Airlink on August 24th for $39.99. I'm not going to round it up to 40. I'm going to stoke that horrid little...
Come on, guys. Everyone complain in the comments for... Okay, I'm not going to get started on this.
I did actually originally write $40 and then I backed it up and I was like, no, I need to put in $39.99. And of course, Lone Echo was incredibly successful back in 2017. So yeah, the Rift S, and well, just the Rift generally, is a goner too. We're just kind of swiftly moving forward, and it's all a little bit bittersweet, isn't it? It's it's great that we're going to be moving on to better games and better headsets, but these headsets didn't come out that long ago. I don't feel like it anyway.
It's really weird that Facebook did that thing with Medal of Honor last year where they released that on Steam VR, and they're not doing that here as well. Maybe it's because they see Lone Echo as their own original IP, and there's probably a future for it on Quest in some shape or some form, whereas Medal of Honor might well have been like a one and done deal for all we know. I don't know, but yeah, It's a shame, and it's kind of fitting because to me, Lone Echo has probably always been the best Rift exclusive. I know other people would probably say Asgard's Wrath, but for me, it's always been Lone Echo. I think it's such a good exploration of locomotion in VR and storytelling in VR, and I think that team, Ready at Dawn, has a real penchant for storytelling. I coincidentally think it's the best of the purchases Facebook's made from developers so far because they are a genuinely groundbreaking developer. So I guess what I wonder about this, and I think Ian, you'd probably say yes, is this just being sent out to die at this point?
No, that's an interesting way to put it. I'm curious about the quality of the game. Medal of Honor had obviously very mixed results, and I've seen these comments among developers really suggesting like throwing these massive amounts of money that at developers, even at a very experienced traditional game developer, if it's their first VR game, they have to go through a lot of basics learning and getting up to speed on sort of what the great VR development means. And you're not necessarily going to get a great product out of their first outing, and that's not going to be true for this. That Lone Echo is not going to be in the same category, but it is a question of resources and how many people they could keep on the project to really see it to conclusion and really get it out the door. The thing I want to add here is just a couple things broader looking at it, where I thought it was very interesting that this is releasing on August 24th, which is the same exact day that the new Quest 2 goes on sale. The 128 gigabyte Quest 2 is their new entry level unit. So they first announced the release date for Lone Echo 2, and then a few days later said, oh, actually, we're recalling 4 million Quest 2 interfaces, facial interfaces, because it causes some skin irritation in a very small subset of users. Facebook apparently got 5,700 reports of skin irritation from people who said that the foam interface caused them some skin irritation. And they announced that they're doing this voluntary recall. They're going to give a silicon sleeve to everyone, but it was all timed to August 24th. So like it just there's this massive like I Expect You to Die, which we'll get into later, is also releasing on August 24th, and I think Facebook has some say in release dates that studios pick, and obviously Quest right now is going to be the most important platform for a lot of developers. So it's just there's this big push that right as back to school is happening, right at the start of this very long sort of holiday season buildup, Facebook has turned a recall into this massive push. You can go get the super high-end PC VR game for your Quest 2 and hook it up to your PC, or you can get I Expect You to Die 2. You can get a headset that's got twice as much storage, and it's right on the backs of this fairly startling news that people are getting rashes wearing Facebook's headset on their face.
Yeah.
So just looking at some of the comments, but or something, I think Facebook is looking into opening up to make sure they can eventually have their storefront be on the same level as Epic Games, but for VR games exclusively. FYI, I think I fixed the echo. So just let us know there.
Yeah, it's on the screen. Hey, boom, 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 boom. Lone Echo. Anyway, wow, I can't believe neither of you got it.
I didn't find it funny.
Yeah, it was better than a Kyle dad joke, I thought. I'll give you that.
That's not saying much, is it? But
the thing is, as I was saying it, I mentally stopped myself from making a reference. That's the difference between
You're better
us.
than that?
Okay.
That's what you're telling us?
We're not the same. We're not the same.
I'm going to see Carl in the comments in a second.
Yeah, Echo's gone.
Butter something. You were the lone Echo here, but it seems fixed. Yeah.
Oh.
Do.
I'm just going to drum it out. Drum out every time.
And the winner, VR Game of the Year is... Oh, they're doing a drum roll. No, that's the winner.
For God's sake. Get out of here.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I am looking forward to this. It feels like this is overdue, though. Obviously, I think Lone Echo 1 was, I think it was 2017. So we're talking a 4-year development cycle for this game. I'm sure. Obviously, there's no announcement for Quest 2, but I'm sure maybe some of that delay has been, or that missing in action has been getting Echo VR over to Quest, and then potentially looking into doing this on Quest 2. I hope that once this is done, maybe next year we could see Lone Echo 1 and 2 bundled together on just Quest 2 or something. But obviously that's a big ask because they're, graphically very, very lovely things. But they've already got the franchise over there in some shape or form. They've already got the mechanics over there in some shape or form. So it could potentially happen. Yeah.
Cool. So, although we're going to be sticking with more Facebook news, sorry everyone, the next topic should actually be important to most VR lovers. There's been a lot of talk about Facebook's Metaverse plans just in this past week. So that includes Zuckerberg's interview where he mentioned all-day VR headsets being a thing by the end of the decade, which is a bit hard to imagine, to be honest, because, after 2 hours, I'm pretty much maxed out. And Horizon having things like concerts, AAA games, and an economy. And Andrew Bosworth's Facebook post outlined what Facebook Reality Labs is doing to create this metaverse, announcing that they're going to be making this new supergroup, led by former Instagram VP of Product, Vishal Shah. So they're going to be completely concentrating on creating parts of this said metaverse. FYI, if you're just kind of a little bit lost by all of this, go over to UploadVR.com. Heaney has made a just complete wrap-up post, and it's fantastic on what any of this means and what they're actually doing. Which brings us over to you two. What do you actually think about this, and do you care about Facebook's metaverse?
Can we stop saying metaverse? Can we?
Oh, yeah, please. What do you say instead?
Cluster of apps.
So I was listening to the quarterly earnings call from Facebook yesterday, and there was a quote that Mark Zuckerberg threw out there, and he called it the embodied internet, or embodied something like that. The difference is being embodied, and I think that's a useful way of thinking about it versus things like spatial computing, spatial computers, 3D web. Like, none of that really conveys this sense of having your hands and feeling present in a place and being able to look to your left and right and feel like you're actually in your body, but space is collapsed and you've got someone else with you that is very far away. And that's kind of what Facebook is hinting at here with their efforts for Metaverse. I think internally, Facebook goes through reorganizations pretty frequently. I think it's like part of their culture. It's part of what what keeps them nimble, even though they're a very large company, as they kind of go back to the drawing board every so often and try again. And for us as watchers, joke about the different avatars that have failed over the years, how many times they've gone back to the drawing board with avatars. They had rooms, then they had spaces, then they're doing Horizon, and Horizon hasn't launched. They keep trying to get this right, and I really see this whole new group as trying to get this next step right, and it's kind of underscoring how clearly Facebook sees getting this right at this point in time is to the company, and that means doing some very different things at some very different levels. If you go and look at what Epic is doing, where they're securing partnerships with anyone and everyone to bring those things into Fortnite, I think Facebook wants to be able to do the same thing with Oculus and with VR. But if you're not, I've kind of heard this from various people, if you're kind of like not dealing with the right people at Facebook, you can't be guaranteed that your thing is going to ever actually come out the way you want it to. So like we know all these devs are sort of waiting for their release dates on Quest. They're waiting for this email to come in from Facebook. Sort of just refreshing their inbox, waiting for that email to come in and tell them when they can actually release their product on the most bustling VR store right now. And can you imagine like what it would be like for a company like Netflix or Disney uh, or Amazon even? I mean, these are massive, massive, massive corporations that that aren't going to enter into a deal without their legal team going into it, without really vetting the contracts, and all those things have to be forthcoming from Facebook in a pretty reliable manner in order to make those deals happen. And like, if you want co-watching out of Netflix, that's the feature I keep thinking about. I want to sit down with other people and watch a Netflix movie, as well as sit down and watch a Disney Plus movie, and do that in VR or do that on a flat screen. That's not going to happen if Facebook doesn't have all the right layers in place all the way down the stack, and those companies are talking to a person with enough power at Facebook to actually make that deal happen and get the technology aligned with everything else Facebook is doing. And when I think about what they're doing with this Facebook Metaverse group, it's like uh, I wonder what priority the people in that group are going to have over the other things being done in other groups. Like if they're actually going to be able to go to Bosworth or Zuckerberg and say, "Give me $1 billion. I need to bring Netflix to the table."
Yeah, and you hit on the point that I was gonna when Zeena asked, "Do you care?" That's the point that I was gonna hit on as well. Is to me, it is all going to come down to the experiences of and how they're enhanced by the metaverse, and this is something that basically everyone in VR is really fighting with at the moment, right? We see some big social VR spaces that are still, I guess, in some terms, kind of relatively niche. I know, Rec Room's blown up, but what is the percentage of people there actually in VR? And obviously VR chat's blown up, but same kind of deal. And they're doing well, but it's not. It's not something I look for to go into a social VR space and just hang out. I need the reasons to be there, and it goes back to something that Ian talks about quite often on the podcast of why is Facebook buying studios? Is it because they want in the metaverse, they want the onward training course that you just walk into, and do they want the Beat Saber room in your house and everything like that? And that's part of it for me. That's got to be there with this embodied internet for me to care, because right now I enjoy VR as this kind of consoleized experience, and I think it's interesting that you look at all the different ecosystems out there right now, and actually, even though navigating it is an absolute nightmare, the best ecosystem out there is PSVR, because PSVR just has all the embodied features of the PlayStation 4 just inside a headset at the end of the day, and it is a very literal translation. But that's where you've got a friends list you care about, Netflix apps and everything like that you can just boot up either in a virtual screen or in terms of YouTube you can have native support and stuff like that. So that's kind of, I guess that's what I kind of envision when I can have that kind of consoleized experience brought into a virtual space that feels very natural and seamless everywhere. So like you said, co-watching, or the big thing for me would be co-playing. So bringing back local multiplayer in a way that kind of big screen and stuff like that already do, of any game that has online support, you could fashion into a kind of local multiplayer game. I think that's a really, really exciting potential application of it.
So, well, I want to add this one thing, this concept I've been kind of throwing out there from time to time, that Facebook wants, in my opinion, I think Facebook wants to be the passport to the best places in VR. And I think that's such a good analogy for their overall strategy. They don't actually need to be the, the owner of everything, but they do want to have kind of like uh, the, the thing you need to get to all the best places.
The exclusive right. Like you need
well,
to go through them.
A passport is a great analogy for it, because you need to like have this thing to go to the good places, and that's exactly what your Facebook login is.
Yeah,
and over time they can make that Facebook login your
Yeah.
ticket to your passport to all the best spaces in VR. And on the other side of this, on the other side of this passport is them setting the rules for everyone that needs the passport. They can really guide everything on the other side of the passport. Another way of thinking about it is becoming like a real estate owner, a virtual real estate sort of seller. They're handing out tracts of land like the early United States to anyone who gets there first, and just, here's your 40 acres, here's your 40 acres, and you get to well, obviously taking it away from the people who are already there, just to put that out there. But no, like it's honestly that's another good analogy for what Facebook is doing here. Like they're going to have this passport to get to all the good places in VR, and they don't need to own everything. They just want to own the very best destinations that everyone wants to go to.
And that's kind.
Go for it.
Sorry, you go for the comment, and then I'll say what I want.
Yeah, Scott D said in relation to that, I think that's why Facebook is asking other groups to have equal roles in development of the metaverse. They don't want full responsibility. Also, no one trusts them to do it. I think that's true, especially with Horizons. Like they're saying that they're going to bring in other people to make AAA games within Horizon. So, that's going to be their own little destination as well as, going through to other games. How the hell do you make a AAA game in some social platform? That's just such a stupid line.
It can be done though. Like look at Dreams and what's being pushed with Dreams. Like once you get the tool set specific enough. No, it's not AAA, but it's getting there. If you look at that team started with Little Big Planet, which was just 2D platforming, and then you bring it forward to Dreams, and then you bring it forward again to Dreams is essentially an engine. It's not AAA.
Yeah,
because
of course
it's just people making
but
stuff in their spare time.
It does not have the power, and people making little experiences. That's not a AAA bloody game. That's like hundreds of people over like multi-year development cycles. I just thought that was really stupid and very like buzzwordy just to get people excited over it.
Well, no. So I think you're tugging at something else Facebook is doing there, that an engine, an Unreal or Unity engine capable of producing the quality of experiences. My very first hands-on with Horizon, I went in there and tried it, and I asked the people who are making Horizon, first they showed me worlds that had been built in Horizon with VR tools in their hands, and then they showed me a world that had built in Unity, and there was just a night and day difference between the level of interactivity and the quality, the memorableness of the experience. How memorable the experience was in the Unity experience was off the charts, compared to like, I don't know, grabbing something here and moving it over here and resizing it. Like it wasn't there. And I'm sort of convinced there's this conversation happened where Mark Zuckerberg had to come to like Andrew Bosworth and say, look, Horizon's tools need to be at Unity's level. We need this engine to be on par, and we know because it's in our it's been reported by multiple people here that Unity was a target for Facebook. They tried to buy them at least once, probably more times than that. And it's this very clear understanding Facebook needs to have an engine capable of building incredible worlds, and that's what Epic has, and that's what Unity has. And it's not where Facebook is. And so when you see that AAA games thing there, you can A, pay a studio to join you, you can B, pay them billions of dollars to port some of their work, or C, or actually build an engine from the ground up and do all the things necessary to build a game of that quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's different from, for example, Dreams then.
Well,
and they're kind of stuck in this weird limbo between Dreams and Unity. There's a massive space there.
And so the conversation around it all right now is obviously we are still years and years out from this thing, or whatever ambitious push or whatever end game, I guess, what Facebook has, we are still years and years out for. We might start hearing more about what they're actually doing in the nearer term future. But I guess when Zeena asked if you care about it, the reason I'm kind of like mentally zoned out of the whole metaverse conversation and the embodied internet conversation is because, like I said at the start of the podcast, Facebook doesn't even have a settings icon in the quick menu right now, and VR still has so many limitations and stuff like that. And we are, I think, both from a hardware and software perspective, we are just so far out from that kind of idea of a destination being very, very compelling to me. And we will get there, and it will be really, really cool. It's just the conversation right now is very much an Ian thing of, it's like it's laying the groundwork, and that's really interesting. But I'm call me when it's there and ready, and you've got compelling reasons for me to be in there. I mean, going back to the AAA thing though, like the idea of them building an engine is very interesting, and again, that's something that if you look at the studio acquisitions they've made, that's where you can maybe start to see some of the pieces again assemble, right?
Like the patterns and that, yeah.
Yeah, elements of Lone Echo, elements of Onward, elements of whatever Sanzaru's done, and bringing that all under the hood.
And that's what I think the Metaverse group is. Like, if you can kind of go cherry pick the people you want from the various teams and all these acquisitions and give them a new outline of deliver this bigger vision than Horizon was. Like, Horizon got only 60% of the way there if they wanted to like match what Rec Room is and match what, like, there's this massive gap between there's Unity and Unreal, and then there's Rec Room and VR chat, and somewhere in the middle is this perfect solution where you can build in VR, you can build on a flat screen, you can use visual coding and visual scripting, and you can build things that people really want to visit and spend significant time and money for. And somewhere in there is the solution, and I think that's what this Metaverse group can really. It's Facebook saying we're prioritizing this group to actually go and do that over the next few years, because clearly, I don't know, even if Horizon had a very big image and very big goal, it didn't really get there. It's only a bigger part of what they're doing under this new group.
Yeah, and it does go back. This was the thing I wanted to say earlier. Sorry, like I was talking about like how, like, in terms of ecosystems that I would actually get invested in, I'm on PSVR, and then you mentioned the whole idea of the passport, and sorry, your avatar just like did the laugh thing, and I was like, I didn't say anything funny. You mentioned the idea of the passport, and those ideas really are kind of evolutions of the console ecosystem at the end of the day. Like, the access to the best places is an evolution of the idea of console and PC exclusivity, which is something they got into straight away, really. And then also the idea of all of that is it's kind of an evolution of revenue share on stores, right? Like, at the end of the day, like accessing these places through Facebook's passport is going to be a huge monetary thing for them. And I still need to see the pieces that would make me invested in that ecosystem, because right now, if you told me that you took Facebook and like did like that kind of VR thing of like pulling it out like this so you could walk inside Facebook, I wouldn't be there because I don't use Facebook and it's got nothing in there that is sticky to me.
It would just be a desert.
So that's, and even on this thing, on the Quest, and even on the Rift, I don't bother with achievements. I never invited anyone into my Oculus Home. I never bothered building my Oculus Home.
It's coming from you who tries to platinum bloody everything on
I'm a real
PlayStation.
trophy hunter on the PlayStation. But so that's what I mean. If you today told me, this is a good way of putting it. If you today told me, and I'm talking about today, that Horizon was launching tomorrow, but also PlayStation Home 2 was launching tomorrow. PlayStation Home 2 is the one I would instantly go for because that's where I'm more invested right now. And that's another interesting conversation.
If it doesn't have Netflix co-watching, if it doesn't have Disney co-watching, things like that.
But those things are
activities.
on PlayStation, like those, Sony again has already done those deals in the context of a console where you move from different apps to apps. And I know what you're going to say of you want to use the same screen for all of it. But that those foundations are there, and more of that functionality is there right now, I would say.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Matthew said a couple of bits here that I agree with. I agree that we don't need a metaverse in the way that in the way that we're kind of talking about it. I don't care for this metaverse idea. However, if it was a metaverse idea that's mixed with out of VR stuff, and different devices and stuff like that, that's more like it. But I think they did also mention, like, is Facebook Portal the video calling thing that they've got? So they mentioned that as well, and AR. If that was more incorporated with it, yeah, for sure. But I still, I agree with Jamie. If it's Facebook doing it, I don't really care because I don't use any other than Instagram and WhatsApp, but I'm not really gonna care about
I love that way of explaining it. It's like, I don't use Facebook, except I use Facebook all the time. Like, that's so much the way people regard this company. Like it.
Yeah, what it is, isn't it? Because I mean, Instagram is a bit closer to Facebook. WhatsApp is the one that you feel furthest is the most disconnected from it, right? Because that you just think of it as an evolution of MSN, not
the difference is
AOL.
I was using both of those before Facebook bought them.
Yeah.
So that's where true. I see a massive disconnect there, but I'm not going to go and actively gain, Facebook stuff like, oh, Facebook's doing something, I'm going to go for this Facebook product. Like, I'm not going to. I was using, VR
thing.
And whatever before Facebook. Like, it was just,
Yeah, it's the whole image problem thing, which I mean, the successful part of their image problem is that they have managed to separate, Instagram and WhatsApp in a way that you've just phrased it. But I don't know, like, but it will come down to partners and, like you said, out of stuff. Like, to that point about PlayStation Home, Facebook could walk out and say, we will be the exclusive place for Xbox Games Pass in VR. And that's kind of what Ian's getting at, which would be a really, really interesting.
Well, I want to throw out one last thing here before we move on, but just say, like, I tried to play Halo Master Chief with someone recently, and they were on an Xbox, and I was on a PC, and we couldn't get crossplay to work. Like, you get in there and hit the button, and it says crossplay is not activated. And then after going through, like, finding all the crossplay things that weren't working, then I got a notification that the other person didn't have entitlement for the actual game either. So they hadn't bought the right game they had the Master Chief Collection, but they didn't have the particular game inside of Master Chief Collection. And I'm just going to throw it out there that's the model I think Facebook is trying to throw away with thinking about the metaverse. That's why I use that analogy of the passport earlier in this discussion of they don't want these necessarily to be apps you go buy in a store. That's what Apple built. That's what, and that was an evolution of what Microsoft built before that. And when you're going to places in the real world, you buy tickets, you purchase things that you take home with you. And that's going to be closer to the model that Facebook is trying to work for here.
Yeah.
Last thoughts, Jamie, or none?
No, it's just the same thing of just I'm not. We're still so early in the groundwork stage, and we keep seeing these stumbles with spaces and everything like that. So it's these words are just words to me at the moment.
Yeah.
who knows if this is going to be the time, because they came to the stage 3 or 4 years ago now and said Horizon is going to be the time, and here we are 2 or 3 or 4 years later,
Please.
still wondering what happened.
Please, no one go back and count how many times we've said Facebook in this podcast. I don't
Oh my
want to
God.
hear that
No.
number.
No.
Instead, Ian, why don't you drum us out of that?
All right. I came out of my first time in Ragnarok saying holy bad word, which is the exact thing I said
Holy
coming
Batman.
out of Pistolwork. Yeah, holy bad word. I really adored this. This was incredible. Very
Great.
different from so they've done some really, really neat things here that I admire the design and the sort of clever thinking here on finding a great mesh between these different things that are being done in rhythm games. So in Pistol Whip, you're drawn down a straight line, and because you're kind of drawn down a straight line, they can change the environments around you, kind of tell a story with your environment around you as you move through this world. And they're building on that. They're building these new elements to Pistol Whip all the time to add more story and keep evolving what they're doing here. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you've got what Beat Saber is doing, where you're completely stationary and you don't actually move, and you've got things moving past you. And then there's, of course, variations on all this because there's just so many rhythm games. But what Ragnarok is doing here is when you look at everything they've done, you're on a Viking ship and you're pounding on these 4 drums in front of you, and then you've got these 2 to the side that are your activate your boost when you're doing really good and you go a little bit faster. And when you're doing really good, all these little Vikings in front of you sort of chant at you, and you
I
really
didn't
feel
even
like
see him.
you feel like you're driving. You're really encouraging all these little Vikings here in this ship to row faster. And then in addition to that, so because you feel like you're sitting on a boat and you've got this like boat surrounding you on either side, you feel like you're stationary and safe, even though you're flying forward. It's this ingenious way of melding your avoiding simulator sickness while thematically attaching it to like an environment of giving you a reason to be in this world. Whereas Beat Saber took this route of just putting you in an empty room with colors all around you and things flying past your face. Supernatural being the same way, and a lot of these other things having things come by you. But in this, you're flying down this long straightaway trying to be the fastest rowing team. And you finish one of these songs and do okay, and you're like, oh, that was really fun, but I wanted a gold medal, not a silver medal. I'm gonna go back. So you hit the thing, you go back in, and now you've got a ghost boat riding beside you, and it's your previous performance in the previous
cool.
song, and now you're trying to outrow yourself in the last song, and it feels like you're racing against yourself immediately. And then of course there's multiplayer that they can layer on there and do the same sort of thing where you're actually trying to out drum these other boats on your sides. And everything in it just comes together in such a way that like I'm really in love with so much of what they've done. I was going through the songs on easy. I still need to keep going at it to get to medium and hard to really feel about the progression of difficulty there. But the way I kind of like I went through 3 songs on easy, and then I got to the 4th song, and I'm like, I did okay the first time through, but I'm like, that was actually a really good song. I'm gonna go back and try to do a silver or bronze. And so like I'm playing that song 2 or 3 times, and I did get a silver or bronze, and I'm going to the next one. I'm like, it was just a perfect progression of trying to drive me to do better and better. And they have quite a few songs in there.
How would
Apparently,
you
I'm a
describe the
fan.
songs?
Yeah, apparently I'm a fan of sort of metal Viking music, metal rock Viking music. I had no
Unexpected.
idea that it really came out at me, but everything about this, like there's that scene in Fury Road where the cars are coming out after the good guys, and they start drumming and rocking on the front of this war car, war vehicle, and it's this game. It's just exactly this game. That moment is the whole game. Every song is you feeling like you're out there getting your crew to go faster, and it's just brilliant in my mind.
I feel like we need to take Ian to like a Norwegian festival. Just get him blind drunk.
No, you just need to watch Eurovision and just wait for like Finland or Norway to come on.
I don't have any of that in the United States, and I'm like, are these all Eurovision songs? Is this what I've been missing in the United
basically,
States?
Yeah. That's basically what they do in Iceland all the time. So is it in early access right now, or is it?
Well, that's the tricky thing. It is on App Lab on Oculus Quest, and it emerged from early access over on Steam. So that was the one we were talking about a little while ago, where like Facebook has its QA processes and needs to make sure that all the games clear that before they'll put them in the main store. So you can go get this on App Lab, but it's effectively all the way there.
I think this might be like quite a streamable game. This looks really fun. I actually can't wait to jump into it.
Potential.
Yeah.
I will. I guess one thing I'll note here is because of the mechanics of drumming these things that are right in front of you, it has a slightly different way of wanting to move your body. Kind of pushes you to move your body a slightly different than some of the other rhythm games. So like you want to do lunges to get dual notes on either side, and also just certain muscle groups are kind of pressured more frequently because you're doing the same rhythm rather than different slices and stuff that you might have in Beat Saber. You're kind of doing the same repetitive motion. So there is that element to it that it might hit some might cause some repetitive stress stuff more than other games. I don't know yet.
What was the like 2016 era launch game with the blue boxing glove, the orange boxing glove, Audio something? Remember?
Audio Shield?
Like, Audio Shield.
Yeah.
The developers of Audio Shield are sitting out there somewhere so bitter. Just absolutely
just punching themselves in the face over and over.
Because that one, yeah.
Orange, blue. Yeah.
They never want to see orange or blue in their lives ever again.
It looks good actually. You sold me, and I'm not a man that's easily sold on the rhythms and the beating of the drums.
It looked.
I made sure Harry went in there and tried it, and was like, "Hey, am I stupid here, or is this really kick ass?" And he was like, "Yeah, this is good," and it was harder than I expected. So, yeah, I'm more waiting to hear you all come around.
Harry's the harshest critic. If he liked it,
yeah, he comes at game swinging.
Yeah. So, in addition to this, you've also been playing I Expect You to Die Too, which we will try to get up onto the screen here.
Oh, I'll do it.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I Expect You to Die Too from Shell Games is very funny. It's got Will Wheaton's voice, of course. That's Wesley Crusher from the Next Generation Star Trek, and he does a pretty good job of disguising his Will Wheaton voice. So you don't, if I didn't say that, you might not be able to tell it's him. You might recognize it. You'll definitely recognize it as Will Wheaton if you know that voice. But he does a pretty good job there as this actor character here. That's kind of like your nemesis, so to speak. And this game I've played. I think it's going to have 6 puzzles when it actually launches on August 24th. And I've played through 3 of them per sort of the restrictions of what Shell Games wants people to do. And they also said that don't spoil any puzzles right now, and obviously the puzzles are the whole game. So I described this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I didn't think that was working for a long time. It's on now. Please go ahead.
So what this is it's escape rooms. It's little mini escape rooms that you play in sort of a seated position, and you've got something like the gravity gloves. I actually quite liked it. Jamie, you had some different thoughts, but I thought it was really cool the way the gravity glove works in this thing. It's not called a gravity glove, but you can reach for faraway things and pull them over to you and interact with lots of little hidden things all around you. And I did the 3 puzzles, and I really adored it. It's just a puzzle game like this plays with your sense of frustration in a really cruel way. Uh,
Mm.
VR, VR is always battling the sense that you're wasting your time. You never that. There's the games that get you into a game and having fun within just a few minutes are really the ones that are finding success. And here's a game where, yes, you can learn how to use these tools right around you, but within a good 20 minutes, you're going to be frustrated and stuck and sitting there and thinking about whether you want to leave because you feel like you've tried everything. You're looking around and thinking, okay, what am I not doing? What this button connects to this thing? Does that actually mean this? And you have to do this introspection for large amounts of times in this game, and that's kind of like uh, running so much against what games are doing with what I said before, Ragnarok and Beat
Mm.
Saber and all the rhythm games where they're trying to get you in there and having fun within minutes. This is a game that's going to frustrate you a little bit after 20 minutes, but that's exactly the allure of puzzle games and escape rooms, is forcing you to take that moment to just think to yourself and try something else you didn't try before and keep going back. And the best example of this I can come up with is the game more or less gives you like awards for different ways you die. So you're going to die in a lot of ways through this game. And what happens is, let's say you spent 40 minutes on a puzzle, uh, and you've gotten pretty far in it. You figured out the first 10 steps to get through the puzzle, but there's some new part of it that's kind of, you just can't figure out what to do, what the right combo is. Well, you die, you go back to the menu screen, and you come back into the puzzle, and you're like, oh, I have to do it all again. And
Mm.
uh, in truth, the do it all again only takes you 30 seconds. You can do it so fast the second time through once you know what to do. But your brain is still running on this, like, it took me 40 minutes the first
Yeah.
time. Why am I going to go through? But it literally is only going to take you 30 seconds to get back to exactly where you were before. Uh, and I don't know. I love the way that this game is playing with your mind like that. And it's just a perfect puzzle game in my mind.
I was going to say that earlier. Actually, the thing is, like, technically, there's probably only about half an hour's worth of content in the entire game if you know where to, flick the switch and everything like that and get through it. Like, you will do that, but you're right that it expands out in that way, and that's really funny. I would say it's one of those games that, for me, I'm just really glad you're here to play it, because it's a game that I have immense respect for, and I've done maybe like half the levels in the first game, and I played the Steam Days preview of this as well, which I enjoyed. And I think I do think it's immensely clever, and I love the different interactions and the idea that, everything in the world has purpose at the end of the day. Everything, and that, some of it is just, funny games, a hat I can wear and everything like that, or a donut I can pretend to eat. But it also, all the other items, you are meant to be picking up and thinking of inventive ways to use them in VR, in ways that you wouldn't be able to in a traditional game. And so that's what's, really, really cool about it. And it is a very inherently VR game at the end of the day.
Our commenters asking, is this a seating? Why is this a seated experience only? It's a very you do talk to the developers about that, didn't you, Jamie?
Mm.
What was
Yeah.
sort of their response? Because it was a hard decision on their front, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was a little while ago, but I think it boils down to that idea of accessibility at the end of the day, and making sure you can reach. Just as they are getting out to as many headsets as they possibly can, and visually it reflects the idea that it's coming to Quest and everything like that. Shell is all about that kind of, anyone can play it, and you can see that in their other work as well. They do a lot of edutainment, they do a lot of much more accessible kind of puzzling games as well. And that grab system that you were talking about earlier, again, is meant to reach out to the idea, literally, that just anyone can just point to something and grab it. So it is a game about that. And you could argue that, oh, fine, if it's not room scale and I can't stand then it's not really immersive and not really VR. But the thing I always go back to is with the development of the first game, they built cardboard sets to work out how things were going to interact and how players were going to respond to the environment. And at the end of the day, that's still like maybe the most ingenious piece of immersive VR development, and an anecdote that I use time and time again, because they are really yeah, sure, it's not room scale and you're not going to run through a giant open world, but round you is texture, and that's, to me, that's way more important. And so that's it. Yeah, I think it's about making it accessible and giving the world as much texture as possible, and they do it in this way.
They seem to be a developer that no matter what they make, everything is quite calculated and considered and smart.
Yeah, sure.
They're very smart people.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And they know they do that with I Expect You to Die, and they know that there's an audience out there that wants something else, which is why they went the other way with Until You Fall, which is, in many ways the most demanding of experiences. So this is out on August 24th, like we were saying, the day the Quest goes back on sale. So a good title to kick it off with.
And
but
Lone
it's also
Echo
on,
too.
Yeah. It's also on PSVR and PC, right? So
yep,
the whole shebang, which is quite cool.
Cool.
And
so that's what Ian's
been
been playing this week.
Jamie,
what do you want to say?
Sorry, just gonna.
What do you want to say?
I was going to say that you'll hear much more about I Expect You to Die 2 next month, and then I can't wink at the camera, so I'll just do this.
Oh, okay. Wink.
Oh,
You're just going to headbutt someone. Oi, oi!
Oi, oi!
Oi, oi!
I expect you to die, mate. I expect you to die. Anyway.
That was a good accent. What accent is that? That was cool.
That's my usual voice. This is the accent.
Damn, nicely executed.
That's just
yeah, sorry. Ian, that's what you've been playing. Jamie, people seem to be very, very interested in one of the games, at least, that you've been playing this week, which is Arcsmith. Why don't you give us your impressions on that before moving on to the PSVR exclusive Wins and Leaves?
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I've played about half of Arcsmith at this point. Me and Zeena have been on vacation, and it's been a busy time, so I haven't managed to get all the way through it. But the last few days I've been playing. It's from Biffle Games, which is a studio you will probably know for, first of all, Thomas Was Alone, which was a solo development thing by Mike Biffle, who's become quite a prolific developer in the traditional games development scene. But interestingly, this is the first Biffle Games game that actually isn't directed by him. It's directed by another member of the team. And the concept is that you are kind of on this isolated space station with this happy guy that you can see on the TV here, this kind of big bruiser of an alien that is like basically an electrician. You build stuff, you repair stuff together. You're kind of his apprentice in some terms. And it's a very interesting idea of puzzles that are kind of like Lego bricks with voltage, I guess is what you would say. That if they ask you to build a radio, so you have to first of all like make sure the radio has enough power and that it's not going to overheat, and you've got several items at your disposal to kind of redirect the flow of power. But then the kind of really cool and ingenious thing about it is, as you're always sitting at a desk, so much like I Expect You to Die. This view you can see in the trailer now is your view for the entire game, pretty much. As you finish a puzzle and complete an item, the game kind of moves very seamlessly into a cutscene of that guy speaking to you in 10 to 30 seconds, cutscenes, and you get this really interesting narrative about the planet that you're hovering above, his past a little bit, which is kind of mysterious at the start, and actually quite early on starts to unravel. And then you build increasingly complex things, and the story gets increasingly complex too at the end of the day. And I'm actually very much enjoying Arcsmith so far. It's a very bitty puzzler, both in the sense that yes, you have lots of these bits literally, to put together like Lego bricks, like I was saying. But then also this idea of voltage and making sure things don't overheat and things like that is very edutainment in a way. Like you're actually kind of learning a fair bit and having to use your head, like mental arithmetic sort of stuff as you're going. And in the first half of the game, I actually struggled with that quite a lot. I found it quite tough going to just kind of wrap my head around it. I don't think the tutorial does a brilliant job of explaining what happens, but what I really like about it is the immersiveness of switching over to that character between completing the puzzles. And then the game just does a very good job of atmosphere and immersion in other ways. So as you're working on these things, on these little devices, like the radio is on in the background, and it just does have that kind of that genuine feeling of like shop class or something like that, like like on like almost on like a hot summer day where you've got the radio on and like there's a breeze somewhere or something like that, and you're just toiling away at something in silence while someone you're working with is sitting over there getting on with his own work. And I thought that was really interesting and a very cool approach to atmosphere and immersion and connecting with a character in VR. And some of the other things that are good about it are the kind of like interaction mechanics of you have like, in games like Red Matter, you have like the extra claw that actually gives you some sort of sense of picking something up rather than grabbing something with your hand and knowing you're not really feeling it. It has those kind of, you can see, oh no, you can't see it actually. Just at the bottom of the character on his arm, he's got like this little laser beam, which is like kind of like a hover beam kind of thing, picks it up. So like an excuse for the weightlessness that you feel when you pick up an item. So it's good. It's kind of actually very comparable to I Expect You to Die in terms of approaches to immersion and accessibility and everything like that. The puzzles just aren't escape room stuff. They're kind of much more like kind of circuitry, finicky, bitty shop work. And that comes with some problems just down to how tactile VR is and the fact that it's hard to stick things together and get the game to know when you're trying to stick things together and everything like that. But then also this kind of really cool sense of atmosphere and story, which I'm excited to see carry through into the second half of the game and hopefully have a review tomorrow.
So you streamed it while playing, so I could continue work while watching you play. And the main thing that I really loved about it was actually the music. So going back to the radio stuff, the music's actually really nice and really like very good.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
That's funny. I mean, I didn't mention it in my hands-on with I Expect You to Die too, but there's a radio in there too, and it's a fairly good element in your sort of command room in the game. There's a radio with different channels you can turn to, and there's a fair amount of voice work and just sitting there looking around your cabin before actually going out on the mission, listening to some of the audio stuff there. That's kind of what I was hinting at with the Will Wheaton voice work. It's a very big part of that game.
Well, to that point, I mean, it's interesting to think. Right now, I'm sitting in one room, and Zeena's 2 rooms over, and we actually kind of have the Arcsmith experience in real life, right? Like, we're both during the day working away, kind of in silence on our different computers. You're usually the one with a radio on or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's actually like, like that's maybe one of the reasons I like that atmosphere so much is it's kind of like a parallel to my actual life at the moment.
So you're the big grumpy guy.
Yeah, essentially, I am, to be fair. With a dark backstory. Yeah, and it's and in that sense, it's also a very Biffle Games game in that it does have, a layered, interesting story that's very character driven. I've got to see where it lands in the last hour and a half to play, I think.
So moving on from that, a game that you have completed and the review's already up at UploadVR.com is the PSVR exclusive Wins and Leaves, which I thought would totally be your kind of jam.
Oh, I liked it. I liked it. It does look like my jam. I know if David were here, he would say it's a Jamie game. For those of you that don't know,
Why?
David.
Who?
David was. I don't know. It's like Tyler Durden in Fight Club. I feel like he was just this split personality me at some point that used to exist, and I'm just finally coming
You
around
spoiled
to the
Fight Club
reality.
for 30 years ago. Oh my
no.
god, we don't talk about Fight Club.
Oh no, sorry, I'm so sorry. Winds and Leaves is literally breezy and lovely and summery, and the whole idea of the game is. It's kind of like, just the epitome of every indie game at the end of the day. Like, you start out on this cold, barren wasteland where, industry has ruined everything. But don't worry, you've got a pack of seeds, and you're going to replant trees one by one and eventually blot out the desert and restore the world to its once, glorious self.
It's called Wind and Leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Winds and leaves. Various winds.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, look at that go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. I made that mistake many times as well.
Maths and leaves.
Which is the right way to say it.
Thank you, Daniel.
Oh yeah, thank you, Daniel. So it's very it's not going to be a game for everyone because it is one of those not really any challenge to it. A lovely 4 to 5, maybe 6 or 7 hours. Of a trek, it's a sleepy walk through the woods is the way I think about it, and the way you plant those seeds is you have this kind of cool little shovel thing which makes a hole in the ground, and then you throw the seed in there, and then this thing that we're holding on the screen here, this kind of rainmaker device, actually you twist it and it speeds up time so the trees grow in front of you. So there's actually a physical interaction of actual farming in a sense that if you enjoy and get into the process of actually it kind of feels like good honest work, which is a fun little mechanic. I think the problem with the game is it then doesn't do too much beyond that. You need different seed types to fit different soil types, and sometimes you need to make sure you're planting different kinds of trees to cope with different kinds of climates, but it doesn't really evolve too much beyond the first 5 minutes. So it's very much one of those things of, if you're going to play the first 5 minutes and be like, well, this process isn't speaking to me and I want to go and do something, more action driven, more direct, then absolutely Winds and Leaves is not going to be the game for you. But if you want one of those kind of VR experience, lovely, bright, sunny, feel good times, which is, something I'm very partial to. I enjoyed it and I gave it 3 stars.
Wonderful. Yep, that's Winds and Leaves out on PSVR right now. It released when did it release? This week. Tuesday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The only reason why I said it was totally your game is because the aesthetic kind of reminds me of Paper Beast.
Yeah, it is. It's not as good as Paper Beast in the slightest, but and also Journey, right? It's a very Journey game of that ilk, and it's good. The developer Trebuchet, who did Prison Boss VR, I think they kind of stepped it up a bit with this one. I wasn't the biggest fan of Prison Boss, but I think this was good. And it's a nice little PSVR treat if you're into this. If you're so inclined to play the walkie simulators.
Adam Hartzell also pointed out that Cooking Simulator VR is out today as well. Haven't got around to that one yet.
We do really want to play that though. That's a very streamable game.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? You mentioning it just made me think, oh my god, I want to play Sandwich Tale again.
Yeah, you keep saying that recently.
I still need to get through. I still need to get through Demio too. Come on.
Yeah.
Have you not done the Rat King?
I haven't. I haven't beaten the first mission yet. I've just gotten crushed after
Hey, maybe
2,
we should sit down and do that.
Yeah, we could do a game.
It'd be a great stream. It'd be a great stream if we wanted to do it on stream, but that's a lot of pressure.
It could be a stream. Could indeed. All right, cool. So that's all that we got time for this week. You can read up on everything, all of the stories, the Facebook Metaverse, kerfuffle stuff, and the 4 games that we've mentioned, which are I Expect You to Die 2, Ragnarok, Arcsmith, and Winds and Leaves. You can read up on all of that on UploadVR.com. Join us every Thursday And thank you so much for tuning in. We've had a blast, haven't we?
Good time with pals. Fun time with friends.
All right, let's drum us out. Drum us out as I take us away.
Maestro.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm a Viking king.